Hello team, today's challenge is British to American, where we're given this list of British English spellings and we need to translate them to their American spellings. So right here we have color with a U, that's how I spell it in Canada, and we need to get rid of it. So change it up. And there are a few other bits in here where we need to maintain some capitalization. And if the word shows up and it's recognizable, right? So in this case, we have that color again, but it's followed by ing, coloring, right? Then we would want to capture color and change it. Or disorganize right here, followed by a D. Well, we'd want to change that to the American spelling, which has a Z, right? Also followed by a D. So we can't just split the sentences and loop through the words and change them. We need to do a little bit more, okay? For that, we can grab this whole table and bring it over to our code because this is going to be our source of truth for everything today. And what I mean by that is it's how we are going to set up a regular expression, right? It's how we're going to get the translation. And it could be used for other things. So if they go and add other words behind or after the fact, we want to be able to pick up on those too, okay? So source of truth right here, we're going to call it look up. And today I'm going to use an object. There is a second reason for using an object that I will explain in a bit. Otherwise, you could get away with using a capital M map, okay? There are tabs in here, so we can use some multi-cursor magic, going like this, setting it to it's not a comma because it's an object. It is a colon, and then we jump to the end, add a comma, and that is our lookup, okay? Now, again, we're going to use the keys as the primary source for our regular expression. If we were to hand type this, it would be ridiculously long. But with code, it gets quite easy, right? So down in our function here, we add in pattern, okay? And that pattern is going to be object with a capital O, object.keys, and we pass in look up just like this, and then we jump to the end and join it up. Okay, what are we joining on? Well, we're going to join on that pipe character, that or, right? This is the or sign inside of regular expressions. So effectively what we've done is we've got an array of these keys and then join them up in a way where we can pass this to regular expressions and it will recognize it for what it is. It's this word or this word or this word or this word or this word, all the way down any of these words, but only one of them, okay? With that in mind, let's build that regular expression. It's going to be right here. That is going to be RE equals new reg exp with a P. I always want to forget the P, okay? So be careful you don't. And of course, we pass in our pattern and our flags, which are global and case insensitive, okay? With that, we can drop down to sentence and do our replace. So dot replace. We pass in our regular expression, we get back a match, we pass it into our callback, just like this. We get back everything, but we're only gonna capture that match on this one. So right there, match. And we need a few things here. The first thing that we need is the first letter. Okay, we need to determine if the first letter is capitalized or not. Thankfully, with all these, we have the C starting, the F starting, the H starting. All these words start with the same letter, right? They aren't wildly different. So that can work in our favor, where instead of trying to test or do a conditional for that first letter, we can just grab the first letter, okay? So something like first equals match.slice from 0 to 1, okay? You could also do at 0, but I'm about to use slice again, and so maintaining a similar look through this, I find that really helps, okay? So down here, the next thing is to get our lower version, okay? That is going to be match.to lowercase, just like this, because we're going to use that right here, okay? This is going to be the replace string, okay? And that is going to be the lookup, just like this, on lower, right? Because none of these are capitalized. That's why we lowercased it. If this was a capital A, that would make our lives pretty miserable. Actually, we would have to do some special cases to sort all that out. Thankfully, they've given us all lower cases, so we can just lowercase it and look it up based on that, okay? And then from there, we slice, okay? Again, I said I was going to keep these similar because that way my brain doesn't have to think, oh, there's an at here, and then we jump through this line, and then there's a slice here, even though the at and slice are technically doing the same thing this time, right? We're getting the first letter here. We're getting a slice here of 1 to the end, okay? And then we put it together. So this is the final bit where we go first right here and replace. Those are probably terrible names, but it gets it done, okay? So we took the keys. The keys are our source of truth. Actually, the whole object is our source of truth. We grab those keys as an object and join them up. Sorry, as an array and join them up. And then we use that string as our regular expression pattern, right? And then from there, we executed that regular expression, found our matches, and if we found them, then we did a little bit of cleanup and sent out the new version, right? We didn't need any special conditionals or anything like that. We can just get it done. Now, I said I was going to return to this object, so let's talk about that for a second before we wrap this up, okay? What happens if somewhere in our code, we did, say, lookup like this, lookup, and we went someone and replaced it with somebody, right? Somebody. Well, now it's broken. Why is it broken? Well, because on this test number 3, we had someone, and we absolutely should not be changing that, okay? So the question becomes, how do we stop people from randomly changing our object? And for this, we could freeze it, okay? Again, I don't use this a lot, but when I have to, it absolutely comes in handy. So I can grab all of this, the object, I can cut it away, go capital O object, just like this, object.freeze, and toss that in there. And now it will still fail, but it'll fail for a different reason, right? Let me get rid of this and run it again. And you'll see that right off the bat, we can see cannot add property someone, object is not extensible. Okay, so this is the error because of how this all fits together, right? We also get this British to American is not defined. So it kind of, it throws up here. It breaks, okay? At which point it says, I'm not going to do anything else, which is kind of weird. We could wrap this in a try catch or something like that. But for today, this is pretty helpful for developers. So if something is not working, right, we can turn this off. It still works, right? If we turn it back on and clear out our console, we get a very helpful message here that says, cannot add property someone because, hey, that's not allowed. And we could take this further with proxies and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into that today, but lots of ways to protect against altering this, this object. So if I was getting this from a database, depending on how desperately I needed this to be exactly what it is, I might decide to freeze it, right? As a way of making sure that somebody else couldn't come in behind. Maybe this code is somewhere completely different and we're importing it, and because of what people have done on some completely unrelated file, they've changed something. Well, now I'll catch it, right? At least hopefully they'll be able to catch it, at which point they can do that. And then if they did something like in their PR, right, in their pull request, they got rid of freeze. Well, now we can have that discussion. It's like, why are you removing the freeze? Oh, because I needed to add something after the fact. Okay, that makes sense, right? But for today, that's where it is, right? And it works quite well. So again, to wrap up, we created this object. You cannot freeze a map, unfortunately. You need to do something special, custom, right? But with an object, you can absolutely freeze it. You can send that down into your function. I'd probably also set it up as an extra variable that I could pass in with a default of this, right? But for today, we have that. We set up our pattern. We set up our regular expression. We did some work. We sent it out the door, and it works. Again, not every solution, just hopefully one good solution. If you found a different way, if you like it, if you hate it, let me know all that good stuff in the comments. Otherwise, today this has been British to American, and I will see you in the next one.